my name's Steve Mussell. I've been a photographer for more years than I care to admit, but I will admit it. I suppose I started off when I was at school, and I was probably about 14 when I got my first camera, and I went straight into photography after school pretty much, starting off in a commercial laboratory at about age 19. I'm a children's specialist, so I mainly concentrate on kids, and so we do kids in schools, nurseries. It's not got a massive amount of street cred, but I love kids. Kids seem to love me. I found that out early on. They just like me. I'm stuck with that. They like me, but I like them. So the thing works quite well. I'd started off in commercial photography, just to give you a quick idea of what used to happen. We'd spend maybe a day setting up a shot, maybe 20 perfume bottles, each one with little reflectors behind it. And we'd just about to shoot it on 10:8, 10:8 transparency. And I'd kick the table and everything would fall down, all the reflectors. So I'm not really cut out for it. I mean, I like it because it's all technical, but I'm not cut out for commercial photography, like that sort of still life thing. And I found out that I'm better off with kids, to be frank. Well, I was self-taught to the point where I really felt I did know quite a lot. I mean, I absorbed everything I could get in books, magazines, but a friend did say to me, why don't you get a qualification? So I did go to Paddington College as well, and I did a BTEC diploma, which is now Westminster College actually, still has a photographic department there. And so I did the BTEC, but I actually found I did know pretty much everything, but it was sort of nice to sort of do the technical qualification. We did quite a lot of stuff that I might not have otherwise done. We did things like pin register, which is something you never hear of now. You don't even need it, a pin register camera, but things that I wouldn't have done normally. So that was good, and it was fun. Like going back to the commercial photography days, my boss noticed that if ever we had any kids around, I would make a fuss of them. And he said, what's this thing you got with kids? I'll just get on with them. And I realised that that was what I quite like to do. But I was doing trying to get assisting work in London, doing weddings at the weekend, because that's what you do. If you need money, you do weddings. Even if you don't like weddings, people do weddings. I don't advise it if you don't like weddings. And then I got a job in a kids photography studio, and I realised that this is it. I found what I can do. I just found it easy. I found I could do, when I say easy, I could get kids smiling like when other people couldn't. And I started to think, yeah, everyone's looking at me and saying, wow, isn't he good? And you've got what a nice photo. And you start to feel cool and you feel good about yourself, and everyone's praising you up, and it's a nice feeling. And you're making people happy. So, that's really how I got into it, almost by chance, actually. I found what I like. We do different sort of shoots. Kids, let's say we're in a nursery, which we do quite a lot of them still. Kids need, there's certain ages where kids are nervous, and if they were to come into a darkened room with a couple of weird-looking guys and lights, they would absolutely scream the place down. And our job is to make them relax. So we've developed various tricks. So what we do is we'll bring them in a group, and what I'll do, I'll get them to all sit down, and I'll just have a little game with them. And I actually totally enjoy that. I mean, forget the photography for a minute. I have a laugh. I've got my little dark, and I'll say something like, this duck, I was here one night, late, middle of the night, it was dark, and I heard this little noise. Yeah, and it sounded like this. Quack. And some silly little kid will start laughing, and before you know it, they'll all be laughing. I'll get them to give me 5, and then I'll say, and the kids will like it, and before you know it, one kid is cheered up. Then there's a few shy kids in the corner, and you work on them, you leave them till last, but there's one kid will think it's funny. Yeah. How do I choose when to take a shot? Well, as Cartier-Bresson used to say, there is a decisive moment. and that is what he was looking for. He was building up to a moment in time when that decisive moment would come, and he would take a few shots, try to work out when that moment was coming, and then he would just nail that shot. And that's what I try to do. What you have to do with kids photographers, you have to visualize when that moment will be, and that moment might be 30 seconds away. And basically you have to work everything out so that that moment happens. And it's particularly hard when you've got two children. So you might be working with one child in one way and another child in another way, because they've got different understandings. So a little baby, you'd have to, and the older child, you'd have to say, I'm coming to get you. And you'd have to try to actually make one moment happen. And then you'd have to nail that photo at that time. So it is a bit strange. It's almost something comes out of you to them and registers in their little brain and creates a smile, and you sort of anticipate it and get it. It's hard to actually teach that, because if you don't really get on with kids, you might not ever get that actually. You can try, but if you've got this thing where you like kids, it's actually a heck of a lot easier to do kids photography. There's different styles. We do posed, we do a lot of natural styles with black and white, where kids are playing. You can just get shots where they're playing and interested little expressions. Also, there's something interesting that happens if you just make a noise and say, oh, take a look at this, and they look up, and there's about less than 1 second while their brain is working out what is happening and what they're meant to be looking at. If you catch that moment that's less than a second, you get an interesting, a very beautiful expression. As soon as they've worked it out, the expression changes, and you've got less than a second. So that's just one of many expressions. That's the sort of Mona Lisa type of look, the sort of dreamy look that is, to my mind, almost better than a smile. So smiles aren't the only thing, for sure. One of the most exciting jobs that I ever did might have been the very first job that I was sent to do on my own, and it really doesn't sound exciting. It was purely, I had to go to a hotel and I had to photograph some scenes in a hotel. But I went on my own and I was doing a job that was going to get printed. I was terrified and excited at the same time. It really wasn't that exciting looking back on it. But for me, I was absolutely, totally happy. Maybe another one would have been the first day I stepped into the commercial studio, which is behind McDonald's in Kensington High Street, and it's still there, not as a studio now. The first day, the boss said, I wonder if you could set up that camera for this shoot. And I just thought, wow, there was a 5.4 camera. I was just thinking, yeah, I have arrived. So that was just exciting. We had some exciting jobs in that studio. I'll tell you one job that wasn't exciting, but looking back it was funny. We used to photograph a lot of Lions products, so a lot of cakes, a lot of biscuits, and we had some chocolate chip cookies, and they said, well, who can be the cookie bear? Oh, Steve, we'll get him to do it, but I'm not a big guy. So they said, well, put more coats on him, put everyone's coat on him. Now it was summer, so, well, it may not have been summer, because there were a lot of coats around, but anyway, it was hot, and we put coats on me, and then this cookie bear outfit, and then they wanted me in midair, so they said, jump, jump. So I was jumping around, and it was unbearable. So I know what it is to be a model. I am a model. It was really terribly scary when you look at a diary that is empty and you know that you've got to fill it.
We would like to thank Gemstone Films for providing the lighting kit. For equipment hire and video production needs, check out gemstonefilms.org.